What is it that we do? Well, many of you guys already have an understanding that we provide payroll management, payroll calculation, payroll processing, full first advantage management, recruiting, job advertising. We provide mini executive assistant through a division called Alfred, which we'll discuss in detail shortly. But in my opinion, it's much more important to discuss the distinction between how and why we do what we do, as opposed to all of the other vendors that are out there. Because the truth is, there are many other vendors that actually do what we do in piecemeals, little by little. Now, the biggest difference is the fact that with us, we totally understand your pain points. I am an active contractor with about 55 routes on the road on a daily basis, all running out of the state of Washington stations. And I really understand when a person is hired about all of the other extra activities that we actually as contractors have to do in order to get that person fully badged. So let's talk about recruiting to a degree. So across the country, at least there has to be a dozen recruiting agencies, and I'm aware of most of them. And all of them, with no exception, provide exemplary services. But in the P&D world, the recruiting portion has truly become standardized. It's a lot of headache. It's a lot of human touch. It's a lot of human involvement, which is why we, the contractors, don't want to do it. But at the recruiting agency side, it's very standardized. We all provide the same service. We all advertise your job on Indeed.com. We syndicate it through Google. We advertise through Craigslist, ZipRecruiter. We call the candidates when they apply for a job. We qualify them. We assist them in going through the First Advantage process. We work with First Advantage and we make sure that that individual gets to the finish line. And once they are FADV approved, essentially recruiting agencies send you or your management team an email letting you know that a specific individual is now FADV ready. There are two problems that exist with all the recruiting agencies. One, they are exemplary expensive. As contractors, as an active contractor myself, I understand the financial burden that we all are going through and the fact that our buckles need to essentially not only get tightened, but stay tightened. So that is the biggest problem with almost all recruiting agencies that I'm aware of. The second problem is once a person is ready for training inside First Advantage, the job has just started for me, the contractor, or my management team. We got to activate that person in scheduling. We got to activate that person in payroll. We got to get their direct deposit information, tax elections, I-9, E-Verify. There are a significant amount of more ancillary action items that we have to do to get that person essentially hired with our company. And because I understand that, we've essentially magically built all of that into our product. So let's take a look at what the portal does. When I'm logged in on the left hand, if I own multiple CSAs, I can actually see each one of my CSAs without having to log into each one individually. And I have the ability to assign my management team access to all of my CSAs or certain CSAs, and I have the ability to give them different level of accesses, which we'll talk about at a later time. On the left hand, you can see it says ready for training. So once we have worked with the applicant and we've got them essentially background approved and drug test approved, we basically show you how many people are ready for training. All you have to do is click on their name and follow through. Now, before I jump into that, I do want to briefly show you another thing here. Over here, you can see the company name. I have multiple companies. In this case, I'm going to show you this example. So if I say, show me all the drivers that are ready for training across two of my CSAs, I'm able to see that as well. This allows me to centralize all of the data and all of the information that I have across all of my operations and be able to be much more effective. Let's decide to click on Jennifer Aniston. And in here, I can see her name, last name, phone number, email, and so on. If I click on Go to Profile, I'm able to see all of the information specific to Jennifer Aniston. If I click this download icon, I can basically see a copy of her driver license. I see her medical examiner certificate, specimen ID. I see absolutely everything. Once I've decided this is a good candidate for me, I'll proceed to call her. I'll be like, Jennifer, nice to meet you. Congratulations. We'd like for you to show up to work. What day can you show up to work? And let's assume she says, hey, I'll come to work tomorrow. So what you do is you click on Activate as an employee, and you choose tomorrow, as an example, in this case, the 25th, and you click on Save. What you're going to notice is that task automatically gets completed, and Jennifer's profile automatically gets input into your account. All you got to do is just click on Save. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Scheduling. We're going to scroll down and we're actually going to look for Jennifer Aniston now. And there she is. We can see Jennifer Aniston is scheduled to show up to work on Thursday, August the 25th, and she is in training. Now, the amazing thing about this, guys, is you don't have to talk to your manager doesn't have to talk to you. It's just there on the schedule. And Jennifer has already been sent a text message telling her who to call, where to come, and how to get to the station, and everything in between. So now your management team knows what's going on, you know what's going on, and Jennifer knows what's going on as well. And the challenges in this business is oftentimes we find ourselves where the left hand does not know what's actually happening with the right hand. And this resolves that challenge. Now let's go ahead and click on Jennifer Aniston. And that's going to bring up her profile just like we discussed. So if I go to File as an example, I can see all of her information automatically there. I don't have to take any information and put it into a different software. I'm sure you guys have noticed in this industry, every single software provider allows you the ability to upload and track medical examiner certificates, driver licenses, and so forth. The problem obviously is somebody has to take that information and give it to that software. In this instance, there is zero action necessary from you because it's just automatically there. Whether you do it, whether your manager do it, all you have to do is just click on Activate. And the amazing thing is if we now go to Run Payroll, when we go to Run Payroll, all we have to do is just, in this case, let's just go ahead and look for it, type in Aniston, and we can see she is on the left hand. So our software has automatically included her into running payroll, and we will automatically start paying attention to her work activity as well as her schedule activity. So a perfect example in here is you can see that on the 25th, she is in training. So this is really good because if she forgets to clock in or clock out and she's not on DSW, our software essentially tells you, hey, maybe this person forgot to clock in and out. Maybe call your manager and find out if this person actually showed up to work for that day. On the left hand, you can see she's still red with the status of new. What that means is our team is still coordinating with her regarding direct deposit information, tax elections, and so on. So as soon as you click on Activate, we automatically reach out to Jennifer, and we start coordinating their direct deposit information and everything. And once we have everything completed on our side, this will automatically change to green. And that means this person is ready to be processed for the purpose of payroll. Let's discuss in detail a little bit about how our recruiting program works. So when somebody applies for a job, let's assume Indeed.com, we receive the lead, and within 5 minutes, on average, we call them on the phone. It's a human being calling them, trying to pre-qualify them. If they don't answer the phone, what we do is we call them for a total of 17 times before we actually give up on them, because we understand how valuable these leads are and we understand the difficulty of the job market. Once we get them on the phone, we pre-qualify them and we make sure they are 21 years old. We make sure they understand that this is a physically demanding job. We make sure that they understand that they're going to be required to deliver a minimum of 150 packages a day. We make sure they understand that some of the boxes are going to be heavy, and they need to understand that some boxes are going to be up to 150 pounds, and they need to be okay with that. Now, sometimes they'll tell you that they never answered yes to those questions, but that's always untrue. So you should never be surprised when somebody says, oh, I didn't know I'm going to be required to lift a box that's 150 pounds, right? That's just what drivers say. We're all used to that idea. And oftentimes they're just giving us yes, 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 and they're not even listening to the questions that we are asking, which is no different than when you or your manager is calling them. So let's assume they pass the pre-qualification stage and they qualify for the job at the basic standard level. What we do then is there are two programs that we have. One is called the phone interview process, and the other one is called the group interview process. They are completely different. It just depends on the size of your operation and how you like running your organization. Let's talk about the phone interview process. The phone interview process is the one that most contractors are very familiar with because that's how all recruiting agencies actually operate. We send them the FADV application. We coordinate and assist with the physical test and the drug test. We coordinate with FADV. We coordinate with the applicant. And at a certain stage, they basically become ready for training. Completely hands off on your side. And the list just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's your choice to decide to hire them or not. Extremely hands off. And we don't actually limit you and how many people will get to this stage. There is no additional cost. It's all included. The group interview is something very different. With the group interview, after they have passed the pre-qualification, what we do is we tell them, hey, come on in so management team can meet you. What we do is we send them to your station at a preset time. And every day it just automatically happens. You and your management team know that every day at 10 o'clock there's a few applicants that are there to be interviewed. And it's more of a presentation as opposed to an interview in our industry, right? We want to make sure that we tell them about how difficult the job is. We want to show them how heavy the boxes are. But the process is very streamlined. So they show up at the station. Most of the time, it's usually at 10 a.m. We can discuss these type of settings on our onboarding calls. And once you or your management team has given them the presentation, what you can do is hand them a folder. And we'll discuss the folder process during our onboarding if you guys decide you want this program as opposed to this program. And that folder assists them in going to physical tasks, drug tests, and getting that done so that they can actually become ready for training. Either of these are essentially managed by our team. We still handhold them, we still assist them with coordination, filling out FADD, all that stuff. It's just the distinction here is you never get to meet them, they never get to meet you. We're literally qualifying them and processing them through the phone. In this case, you actually get to see them, you actually get to tell them about the good, the bad, and the ugly about the job. So the people that actually end up wanting the job or proceeding after they receive the folder are actually the ones that are really interested in your organization, in your management team. The biggest challenge with the group interview is if you are a small CSA or if you don't have a lot of managers. It becomes very difficult because there is no, there's a pause. We can pause recruiting, of course, but there is no rest period, I guess, right? It's just, it happens every single day. Minimum, you and your management team need to commit to 4 days a week where you'll do your group presentations at 10 a.m., literally 4 days a week. And again, it doesn't stop. People just keep showing up. On average, about 35% of the applicants that we schedule for interview actually show up for these interviews. But these are good applicants. They actually, I mean, the fact that they show up for an interview, that's a miracle in this day and age anyways. But the ones that end up wanting to proceed with the folder as a career, they end up becoming very, very good drivers because they've become invested in you and they understood the job that they are actually applying for and they understood what it is that they are getting themselves into. On this one, we still get you an unlimited number of drivers. We still get you a significant number of people that are ready for training. We still do all of the work. It's just don't be surprised if the applicant says, hey, this job is hard. I didn't know the boxes are heavy. I didn't know trucks break down. I thought I'm going to have a Mercedes with air conditioning, right? Those are things that when, the outside world, when they're doing these phone interviews, they just wouldn't know. And that's why in my own organization, this is what I do. But it's really, really difficult if you have a small CSA. So if you have a large CSA, it is absolutely by far the best way to get the right drivers into the right seat on your bus or on your organization to really make a good impact long-term as far as culture and morale. Alfred. Who doesn't love Alfred? Many of you guys have seen the movie Batman. You're familiar with the white glove butler, Alfred Pennyworth, to Bruce Willis, the Batman. Now, the genesis of how Alfred came to be in our organization for contractors is very interesting. I have always believed that in order to be a great CEO, in order to run a great operation, we need to be able to delegate essentially minuscule tasks that are not worthy of a CEO to somebody else. So what we did in our early days was we provided our clients with a full-time, dedicated executive assistant to the client. Now, there were 3 inherent problems that we just did not foresee in our earliest days. The first one is we charged $2,000 per month for that executive assistant. And especially in this day and age, it is extremely expensive. $2,000, very few of contractors are able to afford that. The second inherent problem was executive assistants were not getting a lot of work. Most contractors struggled to keep these executive assistants basically busy around the clock. The third issue that we came across was, what do you do when the assistant goes on vacation? We as contractors understand that our operations are 7 days a week. But when you have an executive assistant, they will take time off. They will go on vacation. And that's what makes the business very difficult because of the fact that it's 7 days a week. No matter what, we are always held hostage to our own organizations. So what we did was we basically re-engineered everything in our back end in our organization and said, how can we do this so that the contractors are successful, they are able to delegate their work without having to break their bank? I am so happy to announce that we have been able to literally build Alfred included across all of our clients completely free of charge. Because as the title in here says, it is not the billionaires that need Alfred, it's us, the contractors. And Alfred is truly, truly amazing. Anything and everything you want, you could imagine you would want, all you have to do is send a text message or an email to Alfred, whether it's you receive a child support garnishment, or you want to add a receipt, or you want to add hours, or you want to change somebody's email address. Does not matter what it is. All it takes is a text message or an email from you or your management. One of the really cool things about Alfred is behind the scene, he does everything at the right time with the right context, and you just don't even know that it needed to be done. A perfect example is a medical examiner certificate. So what happens with medical examiner certificate is 30 days before it expires, we automatically start coordinating with your driver, and we tell them where they should go to get a new medical examiner certificate. Once they have a new medical examiner certificate, they text it to us. We update RouteElite. No work for you needed. We also automatically update First Advantage, and First Advantage updates CDOS. CDOS updates your P&D manager. The driver continues being badged, and you and your management team never had to do any work. So a lot of things just happen automatically behind the scene, and this is all made possible because we never finish our work in the middle, right? When we hire people, as we've discussed, when you activate them, we have all of the information. We do the same thing with driver license, but with driver license, we don't need to update First Advantage. So all we do is we update RouteElite. And if the driver does not cooperate with us, 15 days before its expiry, we notify your management team, we notify you, and we create a task so that you essentially coordinate with the driver and get the job done. When you log into your account under Getting Started, over here you can see organization dedicated email and organization dedicated phone number. That is a SMS number that belongs to your organization. So if you have 5 CSAs or just 1 CSA, it is the same text message number to Alfred. It is the same email address to Alfred. So you and your management team, no matter what you want, those are dedicated to you. So these are literally email addresses and SMS numbers we create specifically for your organization so that when you send us information, our staff understands who you are and what we need to do. And that division in our organization is literally called the Alfred division. Let's quickly take a look at Alfred by the numbers. On average, our clients send a total of 165 text messages to Alfred per month. And they send a total of 28 emails to Alfred per month. Those are emails and text messages that used to be you. That used to be your manager, which basically prevented you from being able to do everything else that you need to do as a CEO. So it is truly, truly extraordinary because Alfred is here 7 days a week. Alfred never takes a vacation, and he understands the burden that is put on you as a contractor through this enterprise that we all are working on being successful and profitable. So Alfred really goes to bat for you 7 days a week, doing everything he can humanly possibly do to make sure you are able to focus on being the CEO of your organization. One of the things that makes this business so difficult is the fact that we have to use so many softwares and services to bring in together, whether it's clocking in, clocking out, people showing up to work, not showing up to work. If they actually show up on DSW, we have to make sure we pay them as W-2 employees. If they have a vehicle that's less than 10,000 pounds, we have to make sure they get paid overtime if they go over 40 hours. And there's so much other craziness, which makes it extremely difficult to delegate to our partners, to our wives and husbands and managers or ourselves. It drives us crazy. So what we've done is we've made something that's very non-delegable into delegable. And here's a perfect example. So let's say we have a driver by the name of Des Moines Willis. And when you pull down his activity on MGBA through DSW, he shows up as Des Moines Vashon Willis. On FCC, when you pull him down, it shows Des Moines Vashaw Willis without the N. And these are things that you have to have, right? Because you're trying to build the report and make sure you're not missing anybody. Well, if you pull down 2 Excel sheets and one of them is missing an N and the other one isn't, it's impossible to merge those together. Again, which is why it becomes very non-delegable. Now, with your payroll vendor, you might have the name of the person as Des Moines A. Vashon Willis. On your scheduling software, he might have a name of Des Moines Willis because you misspelled his name. On the GPS vendor, it's just D-R. And in real life, and this is not a joke, and most of large contractors or contractors that have been around know this, in real life, the guy wants to be called Paul Johnson. That is what makes it so difficult because now you have a manager that is trying to talk to your payroll processor, is like, hey, we forgot to pay Paul. And the payroll helper says, who's Paul? They don't know who Paul is because there is no such thing as Paul. It's just something known as. And again, that makes it very difficult. And then we end up staying hostage to our businesses. So from a payroll management perspective, we absolutely do everything. All of the data is automatically calculated. We bring in data from FCC. We bring in data from DSW. We bring in data from the scheduling software. We bring in data from the payroll processor. We bring everything in and it just makes sense. You don't have to run around like a chicken without a head. So we manage people. So what does that mean? It means when an individual is hired, we automatically collect their direct deposit information. We automatically collect their tax selections. We also calculate compensation, as I said. So you could have a driver that gets paid hourly. You could have a driver that gets paid daily. You could have a driver that gets paid per package. You could have a driver that gets paid per stop. You could have a driver that gets paid daily, but if he drives a specific work area number, he gets paid a different amount. You could have drivers that are exempt from overtime, but if they actually end up driving a vehicle that is less than 10,000 pounds, we automatically catch it and we automatically make sure they get paid overtime, and we automatically process. So every week you review the data, you make small changes, you click on approve and submit, and voila, everybody gets paid direct deposit automatically. Now, all of this work is done through a company called Gusto.com. Gusto is a $20 billion payroll processor. As an organization, we are not able to become the payroll processor just yet. There are a lot of complexities when it comes down to taxes and jurisdictions and federal and state. We will be the payroll processor in the next 18 to 24 months. But at this point, we process through Gusto.com. You don't do anything on Gusto. Everything is handled on our side, but they are the engine under the hood that are responsible for making sure all the tax agencies get paid the appropriate amounts. Now, if you are currently with ADP, Paychex, QuickBooks, OnPay, Paycom, it doesn't matter who you are. We will take responsibility to migrate your employees away from your current payroll processor to Gusto.com. You need to cooperate with us. We need to work together. We have a unbelievable migration team that just focuses on migrating from other processors to Gusto.com. There's no additional cost on this for you guys. In fact, we don't have setup fees, upfront fees, contracts, anything to that effect. And we're going to talk about that in just a few moments. But that's how everything gets done. So let's take a look at how payroll is actually calculated. So inside payroll data, our software automatically cross-analyzes a whole variety of stuff. The scheduling data, the asset data. In this case, if I go to assets and I click on vehicles, I'm going to see the list of all the vehicles. If I click on this one as an example, I know this one weighs less than 10,000 pounds GVWR. And if I live in a state where I need to make sure that person gets paid overtime, the system will automatically catch it and make sure that person gets paid overtime. So if you are one of those contractors that has a large fleet of vehicles that are over 10,000 pounds, but you have one or two that sometimes accidentally gets used, worry no more, because our software automatically catches it, and if it just automatically makes sure they get paid overtime when they need to, and it makes sure they don't get paid overtime when they don't need to. There are significant amount of other aspects to our vehicle management, monthly maintenance report management. We automatically bring in all of your vehicles on your behalf. Again, at no point do we ever ask you to do the legwork. We do everything humanly possible to ensure you can continue focusing on being the CEO. So we're going to go back to run payroll. We're going to choose last week at the top. And here I'm going to go ahead and look for Aniston. And here is our wonderful friend Aniston. Now we can see Aniston gets paid hourly and she is an employee. If I click on her name, I can see her compensation data. So I can see she gets paid $15 an hour, but she gets paid a minimum of $200 a day. So it's either or, right? So I still want to make sure she gets paid $200 a day. But if she ends up working 18 hours, she's going to get paid more than $200. On top of that, I want to make sure she gets paid $1 per stop if she goes over 160 stops, but I want to average that across the week. So what this means is, let's assume one day she shows up to work and she does 200 stops. And another day she shows up to work and she does 120 stops. That's a total of 2 days. Well, when you average it, it's 160 stops. In that scenario, she's not going to get paid any extra money because she's averaging 160 stops. And that is a very, very powerful feature that will literally save you tens of thousands of dollars on an annual basis when you teach your management team and when you hire drivers and tell them, look, I'm going to pay you more when you do more, but I'm going to do it on an average basis per week. And the reason this one is so important is we don't have too much control over DRO. Sometimes we're heavy, sometimes we're light. So if we are not averaging per week, the days where the driver ends up doing a lot of stops, they're going to make extra money. And we pay for it, which we're happy to do. But what about the days where they're not extra heavy? They're doing 120 stops, right? Those are the days where we end up getting punished and the driver, it gets essentially rewarded. And that's what that average weekly is there for. We also can include pickups as stops or not. What I do in my organizations is I tell my drivers, you get paid per stop, and pickups are not included. And sometimes you don't even have to discuss that with your drivers. It is up to you how you want to do it. But if you think about it and you calculate it, when you're paying per stop or you have some sort of a threshold, this ends up costing you or saving you thousands and thousands of dollars on an annual basis, whether you decide to pay for pickups or not. You can do this on a per driver basis. So if you have drivers that are currently getting paid for pickup, great, continue paying them. But my recommendation is for future drivers, do not pay them for pickup and just consider that basically a part of the job. Kind of like how FedEx works with us as their partners. Because of the difficulty of the economy, FedEx keeps asking us to do more and more. And we have to do the same. And this tool allows you to do just that. You are also able to pay people per package. So you could say, hey, I'll also pay you 10 cents or 5 cents per package. There are significant amounts of more complexities that can get involved here, especially when you want to pay people daily. So if I'm not going to change this because I'll show you guys another example of a daily individual, but this one is hourly. We can allow you to pay people weekly, we can allow you to pay people hourly, and we can allow you to pay people daily. And inclusive in all of those, you have a significant amount of mobility and flexibility, so the software can automatically make those calculations. So let's search for our friend Aniston. And here we go. It's obvious she's getting paid hourly, $15 an hour. I'm going to go ahead and click on her name. I'm going to review how she actually gets paid. So if we're going to click on compensation, we can see she's set up to get paid $200 minimum per day, and she's going to be set up as $15 an hour. So if she works for 2 hours, she's still going to get paid $200. If she works for 20 hours, she's going to get paid $300, obviously, right? So our system automatically is intelligent enough to count what to do at what situation. The system automatically also will give her $1 per stop if she goes over 160 stops. That's the threshold. But in here, we have it set up so that it actually gives her the $1 per stop if she averages 160 stops per day on an average weekly basis. And this will literally save you guys tens of thousands of dollars a year, because we really are not in control of DRO. We don't know. It's very hard for us to make sure that driver always gets 160 or more stops per day. So if she delivers 200 stops in one day and she delivers 120 stops one day, she's really averaging 160. But historically, what a lot of contractors have done is they've paid the driver $40 for the day they went over, in this case 200 stops, and then they essentially end up eating the cost on the day the driver ended up doing 120 stops. So this resolves that and ensures that you and the driver are both getting a fair deal. One of the coolest things we built in is counting pickups as stops. The question is, do you count pickups as stops? This will literally save you thousands of dollars, especially with future drivers. So if you have a driver today that gets paid per stop or per threshold, and you've promised them that you'll count pickups, that's fine. But for future drivers, my advice is to basically tell them they get paid per stop. And if they have 2 or 3 pickups, that's just not included as a stop. We all recognize that this is a tough economy, and FedEx keeps asking us to do more and more as their business partner. And it is only prudent, financially speaking, for us to ask our drivers to chip in and help us thrive in this ecosystem. So we have this, it's up to you, but it will literally save you thousands of dollars. In this scenario, Jennifer Aniston also will receive 10 cents per package. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And let's take a look at what it looks like. So every week by Tuesday afternoon, we guarantee you that the data is ready to go for your review. Now, very, very soon, it's going to be guaranteed by the end of Sunday. So literally by the end of Sunday afternoon, you'll be able to come in and review the data. We bring in the data from the weekly service worksheet. We bring in the data from FCC. So we know how many hours they were on duty. We know how many hours they actually had unproductive, because we know when they did their first stop. We know when they did their last stop. So if I scroll down, I can see that, this person clocked in at 8:04 a.m. They clocked out at 3:57 p.m. They did their first stop delivery at 10 a.m. They did their last stop at 2 p.m. They had 3.88 hours of unproductive time. That is basically the difference between when they clocked in and when they did their first stop delivery, and when did they do their last stop, and when did they actually clock out. We consider that unproductive time because they're really not delivering anything. We show you how many stops they averaged per day. We show you their total stops. We show you ILS. We absolutely show you everything. This is an example data that I'm basically doing a demo, but when we bring in the data from FCC and DSW, all of this is automatically picked up. How many packages did they code? How many pickups they did have? And everything else in between. So in this case, Jennifer Aniston did 200 stops, and basically that was on a Saturday. On Sunday, 200 stops, and on Monday, only 10 stops. What you've noticed is she's only getting paid $200 a day because that's the minimum, right? So we need to make sure she gets paid minimum $200 a day, and the software automatically does a good job at that. And she's not really getting paid any non-discretionary bonus or piece rate bonus because she's not averaging 160 stops. As we can see, she's averaging 136.67. You'll notice in here there's a dot that says, hey, this person wasn't really on the schedule, but they ended up doing stops and pickups. In this scenario, it's going to be an important thing to maybe discuss it with your management team and be like, hey, what happened here? Because if this happens too often, it means there's a lot of chaos happening in your operation, and your management team is having to constantly call backup to come in and assist. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if it happens too often and too consistently, it means you have a chaotic culture, and that could be very bad long term. Let's go ahead and change this 10 to 200. So I'm gonna click on that and say, you know what, I think she did 200 stops. I'll go ahead and save that. What happened is instantly, as you see, the software automatically now says she has piece rate of $120. Let's go ahead and give her 10 packages as well. I'm gonna go ahead and say 10 packages. And now you can see it's $121 in piece rate. So in total, she has worked a total of 23.64 hours at $15 an hour, which is $354.60. She has earned $245.40 in non-discretionary bonus. It's the difference between her hourly rate and the minimum that we guaranteed her. And she has earned another $121 in piece rate, all combining to a total promise of $721. Because the rule of the game with the Department of Labor is you can pay anybody however you want to pay them as long as they go overtime. If they go overtime, you do appropriate calculation and distinguish between non-discretionary bonus and discretionary bonus. And our software automatically does that. So we're going to take a look at that in just a second. One of the coolest things we built into this is this distinction between work area numbers. We all have work area numbers that are really difficult for the driver. And it's really not fair when they end up driving that route to basically consider that just a normal, regular day. And a lot of people won't do it unless you bonus them a certain amount. So if there are any work areas in your operation, and we'll teach you how to structure this very easy, but our software will automatically convert that to a red work area number. So in here we can see Jennifer Aniston, route number 154. When I roll over, it says $20 bonus for anyone that does this route for the day. So in this case, all I got to do is just click on any of the numbers inside that day, and I'm going to go to compensation, and I'm going to go ahead and give her a non-discretionary bonus in the amount of $20, and that's it. The system will automatically increase her non-discretionary bonus, as we can see over here, and it'll automatically make sure everything is structured the way the Department of Labor is going to want. So now let's go ahead and see what the DOL calculation is going to look like when this driver ends up going overtime. So this person is at 23 hours. So we need to have this person work another 16 hours, I think, in order to hit overtime. One of the cool things before I jump into that, I'll show you guys is, let's say this driver ended up doing 10 stops for a specific day, and they forgot to clock in, clock out. Our software automatically shows you missing clock in, clock out. And if I scroll to the top, even when I look at the filter, that will also show me a variety of things that I need to pay attention to. In this case, it's caught the fact that there's one person that is missing clock in, clock out. In fact, our software is so intelligent that it will not allow you to process payroll if you're missing anything that is essentially compliance related. So when you try to approve and submit, it's going to show you a pop-up saying, hey, you forgot to clock in, clock out. Resolve this before you can process this individual. But let's go ahead and go back in and actually give this person clock in, clock out to the tune of like 16 hours or maybe like 20 hours. I'm going to basically say 01 a.m. And I'm going to call this, let's say 11:57 p.m. and that should be good enough. That's 22 hours. So for sure, this person is going to be overtime. So now we can see the yellow icon is gone, right? And we can see that this person now has 6.52 hours, earning $22.50 an hour. But that's not where it stops. This is where the PhD degree comes in, where we all have stopped paying our drivers per stop or per threshold or daily because we're afraid we don't know how to calculate the way the Department of Labor wants, because we literally have had to go out there and get a PhD degree, which, is a difficult thing. So we just said, hey, I'll just start paying people hourly. This allows you to basically go back to the way profitability really was meant, which is incentivizing your drivers by paying them by threshold, per stop, per package, that level of thing. So the software in this case automatically does all sorts of calculations. You notice that piece rate went down to $1. Why? Because his, or in this case, her average stops came down to 152.5, which means she didn't do enough stops to earn that piece rate. Right? And it went down to $1 due to that last day of 10 stops. Essentially, the software does all sorts of wonderful calculations behind the scene, and it says the Department of Labor overtime calculation is $18.67, and that's it. Our software will automatically ensure all of these field values are input in the right place on the right context inside the pay stub, so that everything is taxed appropriately, everything is documented appropriately, and life is just good. There is a significant amount more information here. You can have notes for the week. You can pay people, let's say you want to pay them vacation pay for $100. You just type in $100. You can have notes when it comes time to payroll specific stuff. She should get paid $50 if she works on Sundays. So now that note is always there. And again, massive amount more flexibility. The amount of data that we collect automatically is just magical. Our payroll processing team automatically will not only bring all this data in and do most of this calculation, but our onboarding team, along with our payroll processing team, will literally stay on a Zoom call with you the first 6 weeks when you are submitting and processing payroll. They will walk you through every inch of payroll, because there's a lot of complexities just because of the fact that this is a very chaotic operation. Drivers show up to work, they don't show up to work. There's just a lot of different things that happen all the time. And our team is ready to not only assist for your entire journey, but in the beginning, we literally hold your hand until we both agree that you are comfortable processing payroll by yourself. Let's take a look at another driver by the name of Ben. We can see Ben, Joseph Benjamin, really. He's exempt from overtime. He gets paid $100 a day. And if we click on his name, we can see more detail about all the other complexities that we might have set up for him. But in a nutshell, he's exempt. He doesn't get paid overtime. So it's pretty cool in the sense that there needs to be no Department of Labor calculation. Now, unless he ends up driving a vehicle that is less than 10,000 pounds, whether intentionally or accidentally, it doesn't matter. He needs to get paid overtime. And again, because we bring in the data from DSW automatically, our software will automatically do the calculation. So on this day, the only note you're getting is he wasn't scheduled to work, but he's working. So let's go ahead and give him another day. And this time, let's actually give him a vehicle that is less than 10,000 pounds. So this vehicle is less than 10,000 pounds. We're going to give him 10 stops. We're going to give him some time clock. And we're going to click on save. And this is where it becomes truly magical. So many things just instantly happen behind the scene. The first thing you can see is it automatically is tagging the fact that this person is exempt from overtime, but ended up driving a vehicle that is less than 10,000 pounds. And because of that, it automatically turned this individual into 40-hour calculation, in the sense that if he goes over 40 hours, he's automatically going to get paid overtime. Again, the rule is you can pay anybody any way you want as long as you are tracking their compensation appropriately. For now, there is no Department of Labor calculation because this person has not gone over 40 hours. So he'll continue receiving his daily compensation plus all the other complexities that we might have set up for him, right? So we could set him up as daily, hourly, minimum. There's a lot of things that we have for him, and the system automatically does it. So if this guy ends up actually working over 40 hours, the software will automatically document and it will automatically recalculate so that the individual receives the Department of Labor calculation. Now let's take a look at how does it actually work when we're ready to process payroll, right? So I'm going to do a couple things here. The first thing I'm going to say is, let's assume Joseph Benjamin decided to quit yesterday. He's no longer with the company and he's decided to leave. In this case, I want to actually skip him. So I'm going to go ahead and click on more action. I'm going to go ahead and click on skip payroll because he has a company laptop. I want to make sure I get my company laptop before I give him his last paycheck. Now, you want to make sure that's legal in your state and your jurisdiction, but if it is, it allows you to skip. For Aniston, I'm going to say I want to pay her $80 in sick pay, and I want to deduct, let's say, 5 hours of sick time. And I'm paying her $100 in vacation pay. And if I had any type of reimbursements, discretionary bonus, I know we have non-discretionary bonus set up for her, but there's no discretionary bonus for her. Discretionary bonuses are usually, hey, you did such a great job. Here's a $50 bonus for you. It's unexpected. Non-discretionary is out of your control. If they do something, they know they're going to get paid for it. So non-discretionary means it's out of your control. Discretionary means it's fully in your control. If you give somebody a Christmas bonus, that's discretionary because they were surprised. Wow, what a great boss I have. They gave me a bonus that I was not expecting. Birthday bonus, that's discretionary, right? So we basically decided to skip Benjamin and we're going to process Jennifer Aniston. But it's not just Jennifer Aniston, right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete Jennifer Aniston. It's basically everybody across the organization, across the company. So for the purpose of this demo, I only obviously have structured Jennifer and Benjamin, but if you have 50 employees, the same principle applies. You just scroll down, you look at every single driver, you review the data, all of this will automatically be pre-filled based on DSW, FCC, clock in, clock out, and a whole variety of other variables. And you'll just look at it, make any adjustments as you see fit. Once you're happy with the data, all you do is you click on Approve and Submit. And all you have to do is just click on Approved. As soon as you approve, that automatically changes. So it says pending or awaiting internal review. And what happens is it goes to our internal team reviews it, makes sure everything looks good, and they will go ahead and process it. So let's take a look at our friend Jennifer Aniston one more time. We can see Jennifer Aniston is in the pending status. Life is good. All of the data is there. Soon our team will automatically process. Let's also take a look at our other friend, Ben. And for Ben, we can see he was skipped. So let's say he just came back to me. He gave me his laptop back and says, here's your laptop. Give me my money. This is so cool. Truly, truly magical. All I got to do is click on this little icon and click on Process Off Cycle. It gives me a confirmation saying, are you sure you want to process this as off cycle? I click on yes, and instantly and automatically, it generates an off cycle for that specific week, documents everything, and automatically shows me his entire compensation. How many hours he worked, how much money he made, what his clock in was. Everything is automatically there. And for this week, he's getting paid hourly because of the fact that he drove a vehicle that was less than 10,000 pounds. But he's still going to be receiving what we promised him. Automatically all there. All we do is we click on Approve and Submit. Same thing, we click on Yes. There's a lot of other things that we're obviously working on. If people have forgotten to clock in, clock out, you have the capability of clicking on this little magical icon and give everybody clock in, clock out based on their first stop, last stop, on duty. Our software is intelligent and it ensures everything is basically done at the right time with the right context. In here, if I click on folder, nothing's here, but you will see your DSW files and your FCC files right there and then. There's just a lot more data in here. You can have notes for the week. So if there was anything special that happened and you want to document it, you want to upload some pictures, you want to upload some files, all of that exists right here so that at any time you need to reference back to it, you have that full data. There are a significant number of other functionalities built into the service that we're just not going to have much time to go through during this webinar, but we will discuss them and have you go through our university, and our onboarding team is always here to assist. One of the coolest things that we have is addriver.com. So if you or your management team decides to hire somebody inside your station and they are already FADV approved, all you have to do is just tell them, hey, go to this website called addriver.com, enter this PIN number, and that PIN number belongs to your CSA. They'll enter their information, and once they do, automatically that person gets activated. It goes into scheduling, it goes into payroll, we automatically collect direct deposit, HR document, I-9, absolutely everything. If you hire somebody off the street, so let's say you're walking down the street and you come across an Amazon driver and you want to hire them, all you do is you just tell them, hey, I would love to hire you. Why don't you go through this website called onboarddriver.com, and same PIN number. It's the PIN number that belongs to your CSA. Fill out that form. My team will get a hold of you. They're going to make sure you go through the background. They're going to get you done in a jiffy, and then we're going to get you to work as soon as humanly possible. So, and in this scenario, we will basically work with them. We'll push them through First Advantage. We'll push them through physical tests, drug tests, all that stuff. Again, with no fuss, no running around like a chicken without a head. We'll discuss these, obviously, again, extensively during onboarding. One of the other cool things that we have built in is automations. Every time an individual gets activated into your account, you can basically create a task for yourself. You can send yourself an email, or you can send somebody else an email. So let's say each time a person is added or hired, you want to send a notification to your bookkeeper. You want to send a notification to your manager, to your station manager, to your P&D manager. It does not matter what it is that you want. The flexibility is unlimited, and you have the same flexibility for sending text messages. You can send them a text message, and you can actually send a text message or an email to the individual that was actually hired. So if I can check this, and you can see respective person. Who's the respective person? It's the person that was just activated. So welcome to company. So as soon as that person gets activated into your account, they'll receive a text message with all of their information. Hey, welcome to the company. We love you. Here are some information for you to be aware of. The same thing can happen on the flip side. So when a person has been dismissed from the company, you can essentially create a task. You can send out a text message or send out an email, and you can pre-fill that with all the wonderful content that you could possibly imagine. If you have health insurance and you offer health insurance, let's say 60 days after somebody's with the company, very, very easy. You choose person is active. You say 60 days. Qualifies for health insurance. So now you can basically say, hey dude, you now qualify for health insurance. Contact this phone number to basically enroll in health insurance. Or you could also have a 90-day or a 100-day anniversary. Hey, congratulations, it's been 100 days, we appreciate you. And maybe send an email to yourself as well saying, hey, John's been with the company for 100 days. Make sure maybe you give him a $25 Starbucks gift card. Again, the amount of flexibility that we've built into the system to really support us as CEOs to run an amazing operation without having to be the one that actually goes around running around like a chicken are truly, truly endless. You can add one that says, hey, when a person is added, add them to Ground Cloud or dismiss them from Ground Cloud. One of the coolest things we've got coming on, everybody, is very soon when a person is activated, we will automatically add them to Ground Cloud. When a person is dismissed, we will automatically remove them from Ground Cloud. We also will be introducing our clock in, clock out directly inside Ground Cloud. What that means is if your drivers continue clocking in and out inside Ground Cloud, that is perfectly fine. We will automatically bring their clock in, clock out inside our payroll data. What if you have your drivers that are clocking in and out inside Ground Cloud and RouteElite? That's perfectly fine as well. We automatically merge them. No additional work on your side. We are doing the same thing with package routes. There is no affiliation or partnership between us or them. They are independent companies. They own their trademarks, they own their brands, but this is basically us doing administrative work, kind of like Alfred does, essentially bringing in the data so that you, as the CEO of the company, don't have to be the one that does all that work. Again, a lot more information. Let's take a look at scheduling because it's truly the heart of everything that we do. I'm going to show you guys another account here. So one of the cool things, this is actually a production. This is my own company, one of my own companies. If I actually choose last 8 weeks, or let's say last 2 weeks, you can see the data automatically changes. So you can see on a Monday, it's 519 in the last 4 weeks. And then if I choose the last 2 weeks, it's 478. And if I choose last week, it shows 535. Really, really cool. If I click on plan, I can import my DRO. So if I have a inside DRO, when you've done your DRO, all you got to do is click on export the CSV file. And in here, all you do is you click on import DRO, and it automatically shows you all of the routes that DRO has planned for the next day. So in here we can see Route 116 Mac 2 has 2. DRO says there's 2. Mac 2, Route 122 has 131. All of them total 388. But we are estimating 535 stops. In this case, basically RouteElite is estimating, based on historical data, that you're going to be doing more than what DRO says. Now, usually it's the opposite, but this is a demo DRO file that I imported. But you can actually change this. So let's say you talk to your station manager, and the station manager said, hey, we're going to be doing maybe 250. Okay, you change that, and as soon as I change that and get out, pay attention to what happens here to the 181. Look at that, it just went down to 84 stops. So DRO is saying Route 122 is going to do 131 stops, but because the station manager told us 250 is what we should really be expecting, the system automatically says it's only going to be 64% of this data. There is no additional work for you to do. It's all automatically done, and it is truly, truly magic. We automatically show you how many drivers are scheduled to show up for work. So if I double click on this and then I basically click on save, I can see drivers scheduled is 1. We will tell you how many drivers you should bring to work based on the parameters that you as the owner want to essentially accomplish and based on the historical data that is there. We will tell you how many trainees are scheduled. We will tell you how many people are scheduled for on-call. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this and I'm going to say on-call. I'm going to click on save. And now you can see there's one person that is scheduled for on-call. Now, if I do another one and I choose a trainee, I can see there's one person that is scheduled as trainee. Really, really powerful stuff. Management, if you schedule management on the scheduling software, also shows up. And once there is data after a couple of weeks, all of this data really comes to life, where we show you what we believe the payroll budget should be for that day. And we automatically calculate those payroll budgets and costs and those expenses. So you and your management team have a decent idea of, what the payroll should be and what the payroll is going to be so that you can plan accordingly and hopefully hit the target that you have much more successfully. One of the other cool things in here again is if you click on plan, you can actually schedule people right here. So I'm going to go ahead and import that data one more time. For testing purposes here, or demo purposes, I can say Route 44 Mac 88. Let's go ahead and assign it to Brad Pitt. And this one, I want to assign it to Angelina Jolie, because Angelina Jolie just can't do a lot of stuff. I'm just not going to give her a lot of stuff. And if I click on save and close, it automatically will put them onto the schedule, as you can see here, along with the work area number. One of the coolest things that we've done is everything is text message based, meaning your users or your drivers do not have to log into the product. There's no usernames, there's no passwords, there's no shenanigan. You're no longer the IT administrator to your company. Everything we do is text-based with your drivers. So at the top, when you click on Publish Schedule, your drivers will receive a notification telling them they are scheduled for a specific day and the specific work area number if you've told the system what the work area number is. Now, some clients gave us a lot of feedback saying, hey, when the driver knows what route number they're going to drive, they don't show up to work because they don't like that route. So we allow you to publish your schedule without the work area number. And it is really, really an amazing experience where your drivers receive a text message saying, hi, John, your schedule for the week is as follows. And you can add and remove during the week and keep publishing. And as you keep adding and removing, if there is a change for a specific driver, they automatically get notified saying, hey, you're no longer on the schedule on Sunday. Or, hey, you are on the schedule on Sunday. Really, really powerful stuff. One of the most innovative things we've done in this industry is when an individual is added, let's go ahead and find Aniston. And I might be in a different account. I am. So let me go back to the account we added Aniston. There's Aniston. What happens is when we hire them on your behalf or when you add them yourself through adddriver.com, we ask them, hey, what is their desire? What days do they want to work? And we don't ask them a yes or a no question. We ask them from a scale of 1 to 10, what is their desire to work on a specific day? So 1 means absolutely not, don't schedule me, I ain't showing up. 10 means please schedule me, I have a car payment to make, I have a mortgage payment to make, I need to work. And everything else in between basically goes up and down as you see fit, right? So when I'm looking to schedule people, I'm never going to schedule somebody that's a 1 because I know it means, hey, I don't want to work. Now, what if I'm desperate? I am just desperate. FedEx just dropped a lot of packages on me. I am short-staffed for today. I'm going to go ahead and, schedule people that are 9s and 8s and 7s long before I get to the guy that's a 6, right? And then the 5 and then the 4, right? And that basically allows you to no longer have to pick a name out of a hat, and you're able to actually intelligently decide who to call upon when you are desperate. Now, on the flip side, it works really well too. So let's assume Trevante LaRose was scheduled to work on Tuesday. And then we show up to work in the morning and wow, it is not heavy. We are under packages, right? Like we thought we're going to be very heavy, but we're just not. What Trevante has told us is he's given us permission to schedule him for work, but at the same time, he's okay if he doesn't work. So I'm not going to send the guy that's a 10 home. I'm going to send the guy that's a 7 home before I send the guy that's an 8. Right? So first I'm going to basically be like, hey, Trevante, I don't need you. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. There's just not enough work. But if I don't have a 7, I'll just call the guy that's an 8. Again, in this world that we live in, we have to cater to the desire of our millennial population. And this allows you to do that with zero effort on your side. And our software is extremely intelligent. It shows you people that have requested time off and the ones that you've already approved. If I go to the top, I can see there's one more person that actually has requested a time off for these dates. I can go to monthly time off review and I can see the days that essentially are, I have approved. So these 2 days I've already approved. Let's see if there's anybody that's pending. There isn't, right? Not for this month. Okay, you can go into the future. So these are people that were approved. This one really never got approved. It was just in a pending state, right? Nobody really approved that one. And it really allows you to get a good understanding of what's going on as far as how to stack who you're going to allow to take time off, especially as peak comes around the corner. Some of the other really cool stuff that we built in is text messaging capability right in there. If I click on this little icon, I can send a text message to every single individual that is scheduled to show up for work that specific day. If I click on this little icon, I can send a message to all my business route drivers. Depends on the size of your organization. You could literally have a group for your Navy SEAL team. You could have a group for your management team. We allow you to create groups, reorder groups. We allow you to move up and down. We allow you to type notes. We allow you to copy the schedule from the previous week. There are significant amount of flexibility built right in here. One of the coolest things that we have is our management group. So anybody that sits in the management group in the morning receives the plan of the day. And here's what that looks like. So the plan of the day, this is what it looks like. It's truly, truly magical. In the morning at 7 a.m. your time zone, everybody that sits in that management group inside the scheduling receives this text message. It says today's plan for your company is as follows. DRO estimated we were going to run 1787 stops. We planned for 1564 stops. There is notes that essentially whoever does the DRO and the scheduling would have provided. Let me show you what that looks like. So in here, when you click on plan on scheduling, at the top here, note for managers in the morning, whatever your management team or a DRO person or scheduling person types in is the content that shows up in that text message in the morning. So that note shows up here, as I've said. It shows the work area number. It shows the driver. It shows how many stops are actually planned for that specific driver. And it has their phone number inside that text message notification. Because how often do we find ourselves where the manager is contacting us saying, hey boss, what's this guy's phone number? No more. The phone number is always being provided every single morning to your management team. So as you continue to add new drivers and remove drivers, nobody ever has to ask you, hey, what's this guy's phone number? Because every single morning, your management team is being reminded of those phone numbers. Our scheduling software, again, is literally all text message based. Your drivers are able to clock in, clock out, no username, no password. They're able to request time off, no username, no password. They're able to change their desires, no username, no password. The flexibility built into this with the mindset of you not having to be the IT administrator of your company are truly, truly magical. Okay, so this is going to be the last slide, and then we're going to basically get to the pricing. This slide is specific to gas cards. And, are we going to provide the best gas pricing? Absolutely. Are we going to be the best gas card company in the world? Unlikely. But are we really going to be the best gas card company for the FedEx contractors? Absolutely. Because what we need more than anything is a peace of mind. What we need more than anything is just to be able to just breathe, not having to constantly track down gas cards and people that are abusing our gas cards. So the coolest thing that we have, and it's still in beta, it's not launched yet, is every day our artificial intelligence software behind the scene is doing a whole bunch of calculation and basically receiving these gas card transactions, and it is tagging them as possible abuses. And what a possible abuse is, hey, they weren't on the schedule and they used their gas card. They used it twice. They're not on DSW. They're not on FCC, right? They used it more than they should have. And what happens is we show you what station, what gas card number, what date and time, how many gallons, and we allow you to add comments. So these are cases that we build for every single time we think there is an abuse, and it just stays there, kind of like a task, until you and your team look at it, review it, and essentially close it. In this case, this driver is on vacation, so we're just going to keep it in progress until he comes back so we can ask him, hey, what happened here? We have the ability to just click on one button that says close card, and it automatically closes the card. We have the option to click on deduct from paycheck. It will automatically deduct it from their next paycheck, and it will automatically give them on the pay stub, it'll say personal gas usage, $54.50 as an example. And then you'll just choose that as completed, as a task, right? Really, really powerful stuff. The other cool thing that happens is when you hire a new driver, all you do is you just assign them a new card, you give them a new card, and when they're no longer with the company, you don't have to track down the gas card. It automatically closes. The gas card automatically closes and you no longer need to chase down that gas card. And our software automatically behind the scene is tracking your inventory as far as how many gas cards you have, and we just automatically will ship you more gas cards. Some of you guys know our vision and our mission in our company. We are focused on becoming the Amazon for the FedEx contractor community, for the P&D division specifically, obviously. We want to provide you as much as humanly possible. We want to provide more than you could ever possibly imagine for a value that is just earth-shattering. We already are accomplishing more than any other vendor in this industry. The idea that we provide you unlimited recruiting, right? So we have clients that literally have over 20 FADV approved drivers on a monthly basis. It doesn't happen in every single city. It's very dependent on your city, of course, and geography. But the key is you never have to worry, oh, wow, I just had 2 or I just had 3. I need to pause because if I get the 4th one, I'm going to have to pay another few $100. We just automatically keep going and going and going, just like the Energizer Bunny. We never stop. And that allows you to have that peace of mind. Anytime your drivers quit or they threaten to quit, you'll always have that benched pipeline of drivers that you can count on going to and be like, hey, I need you to show up to work. Congratulations, you've been approved. And that's the most important thing in this business, isn't it? Because we never know when we need drivers. It's amazing how this business works. We're always either short-staffed or we're overstaffed. We are never perfectly balanced. But this idea where you no longer have to worry about cost and people are automatically just basically going through the pipeline, it's a well-oiled machine working 7 days a week on your behalf. It really, truly saves your soul. It really, truly saves your business. It puts you on a profitability path that has never been possible, because what have we always been short on? Drivers. We've always also been held hostage by our drivers because we're like, wow, if this driver quits on me, it's going to take 2.5 weeks for me to get another driver through the FADV pipeline. So again, our mission truly is to become the Amazon for the FedEx contractor community, provide you as much as humanly possible for prices that are just truly, truly earth-shattering. So let's take a look at what that looks like at this point. Okay, so let's talk about pricing. It is truly unlimited everything. So unlimited recruiting, FADV approved, job advertising, payroll management, unlimited access to Alfred 7 days a week, fleet management, scheduling software, our white glove onboarding team and migration team to assist with moving away from any payroll processor that you have. It's $9.99 a month plus $9.99 a month per employee. That's it. There is no additional cost, and there's no setup fees, there's no contracts, there's no cancellation fees, absolutely nothing. Now, we understand that $1,000 a month is still a heavy burden for us, the contractor community. But with us, we're just like Amazon. We can't come out and open up the gate and bring down the price to extreme affordability from the get-go. When we launched our services, average client was essentially paying $4,000 a month. In fact, they were getting less value for the price that they were paying for because our software was nowhere close to where it is today. But we have consistently kept bringing down the price, and we assure you we will continue bringing down the price. So for those of you guys that are essentially able, we would love your support. Now, for the ones that are not able to afford that at this point, it is completely understood. It breaks my heart that I'm just not able to bring down the price faster. And I just wish I could. I don't know what else to say. But what I can assure you is it's coming. So we have a site for you that we would like for you to go to. It's basically RouteElite.com/price drop. It is my number one focus to ensure that the price comes down from $9.99 a month to $4.99 a month in the next 6 to 12 months. And with enough support of the contractor community, the faster we can acquire clients, work with clients, and build up our customer base to the threshold that we need, we're going to be able to continue bringing down the price. And hopefully there will come a day where no contractor can say, I just can't afford this. This is too much. So please go to RouteElite.com/price drop if the $1,000 is just too much at this point. For those of you guys that understand the value and even beyond that, they're like, hey, I like this. Let's get going. If any of you guys ever want to communicate with me on a one-on-one, you can go to RouteElite.com/Farjad, Farjad. That's my personal calendar. You can set up a time there, and I'm always happy to consult about anything that's in your heart. And there's no cost. All clients essentially get unlimited access to me when it comes time to business consulting. For the ones that say, look, I'm ready, let's go, I'd like to get started, on our website, RouteElite.com, at the top, just click on Get Started. Choose a time that works for you. And you're going to be, after you choose a time, you're going to be routed to a Get Started form. Make sure to please fill this out in as much as you humanly can. Well, there are a few fields you might be like, oh man, this is so many fields. It allows us to get you up and running much quicker. So when I jump on a call to get you activated, I will show up to that meeting completely prepared, and that will essentially allow us to get you up and running as fast as humanly possible. It's time to answer some of the questions that you guys have been submitting. The first question that I have is, what's the timeline for us to be able to drop the price down to $4.99 a month? And the answer to that is, we are extremely confident that before the end of 2023, so in about 6 to 12 months, give or take, we will be able to accomplish that. Now, in order to be able to hit that goal, what we need support from contractors that are able to financially afford the $1,000 a month concept, because that allows us to bring on contractors, work with them, continue optimizing and automating our operations. And as we continue scaling that, we're going to be able to continue to drop the price. And as we drop the price, we all get to benefit from those price drops. So I totally understand everybody's challenges financially. And I wish there was a way for us to actually be able to bring that price down faster. But unfortunately, there really are a significant amount of labor that goes into supporting every single client. Because as you guys can see, there's just a lot that we do. And a significant portion of it is literally phone calls, text messages, communications, Alfred. Those things have real cost to them, unfortunately. Unlike the software itself, where there's really no cost to it. But the software without the human touch is basically useless. So that's the answer to the $4.99 question. The next question that I have here, it says, I only want to use you for your recruiting or just for your payroll. Can I do that? The answer is yes, but our service is all inclusive. So we will do everything we humanly can to ensure that you are a successful contractor from an operation perspective. We will do everything we can. But if you decide that, hey, I just need you to do my recruiting and I've got everything else taken care of, that's completely fine. But our suite of services is all inclusive. You don't have to use them. So you can just use us for payroll, or you can just use us for our scheduling software, or just for our human resource automation, or anything else that you want. The next question here is, how long does it take to get up and running? The up and running part is very simple on our side. It's usually a 2-hour activation call between me, my onboarding team, and my migration team. We basically start importing your vehicles, your people, the contact information and everything. So literally, once we get off the call, recruiting is up and running. So really, within a 2-hour period, once we have an activation call, we'll get you up and running. Payroll processing is significantly more complicated. That's usually a 6 to 12 week migration. So let's say you're currently with ADP. We need to work with ADP and migrate your people away from ADP to gusto.com. And that process is very sensitive. We want to make sure there's no mistakes. And again, we take full responsibility. We do all the work on your behalf. There is no cost to it. We bring in all of your people, all of your taxes, all of your worker compensation information. We bring in everything, and we set everything up for success inside Gusto. So that process does take about 6 to 12 weeks. We start calculating your payroll the very next week. So the payroll calculation is done pretty much as soon as humanly possible. But for us to process payroll and actually start managing direct deposits, social security information, the tax selections and so forth, that process is a little bit longer. Another question is, how do I get a hold of you? It's in here, as you can see. You can just go to RouteElite.com/Farjad. That's my calendar, and you can set up a time with me, and I'm happy to discuss any questions or any business discussion you'd like to have. What if my drivers forget to clock in and out? So what our software, and this is a question that's been asked since the day I got into this business. It's almost a losing battle. We all, pull our hair out trying to figure out how the heck do I get my people to clock in and out, and it's a challenge, right? So we actually have a stationary software, so you can actually buy one iPad or an Android for $100, one tablet, and put it next to your belt. And as people walk into your belt, you can tell them, hey, you need to go to that iPad and clock in and out. That's where you clock in and out, request time off, and so forth. So that's one. The other one is every time you publish the schedule, so you click on publish, we notify your driver what their schedule is, but we always remind them to clock in and clock out, and we give them the link so that they can click on it and clock in and clock out. So we always remind them, and we always give them the link in the text message, so you don't have to be the IT administrator. Now, the other thing is, you're still going to have people that forget to clock in, clock out. They won't do it. So our software automatically tracks those individuals. And we have a button where you can click on clock in, clock out, everybody. And we basically hypothesize based on their first stop, last stop, on duty, and we automatically give them clock in, clock out. Now, when you do that, you want to make sure you are following your state jurisdiction laws, and you want to basically keep telling your drivers that they need to clock in and out. And you need to have a system or a process for them to clock in and out. And that's why we always remind them to clock in and out, because that's actually literally one of your responsibilities as the business owner. Provide them the tool to be able to clock in and out, and keep reminding them if they forget to do so. Another question is, I talked about Ground Cloud. Can I go into more details? A ground cloud is an absolutely amazing service. It really is. David Leland truly revolutionized this industry, and he continues providing more and more value, and a significant portion of the contractor community loves their services. But the key is, how do I take the information that sits in ground cloud and merge it into all the other datas and payroll processing and so forth that I need to do, right? So it's a feature that's in our pipeline. It will be launching in the next probably 2 or 3 months. But what it is if your drivers clock in and out inside ground cloud, and they also clock in and out on RouteElite, it doesn't matter which one they do, our software will automatically merge those data, and there's absolutely zero work on your behalf. So every week when you're ready to process payroll, you're literally going to see the data from ground cloud, literally, or the clock in and out inside our payroll data, as well as any individual that utilized our software. So it's one of those things where we no longer have to be like, oh man, I'm stuck with this vendor, or I'm stuck with that vendor. The other thing that our software will do specific to ground cloud is when a person is added or when a person is removed, we will automatically do that. So when it's added to RouteElite, we'll automatically add them to ground cloud. We'll automatically send out a text notification telling the driver, hey, ground cloud is the product you use. Here's your username, here's your password, and here's a YouTube of how to use ground cloud. We plan on doing the same thing with package route, but with package route, there's no adding or removing users. So it's just about the clock in, clock out capability. Bean route, we've looked at it. The funny thing about Bean route is they don't break it down for the day just yet. It's a weird thing when we export their Excel sheets. So I'm hoping we can have conversations with Bean route to the point where their clock in, clock out capability actually breaks it down the way it needs to. And when that happens, we will automatically bring in their clock in, clock out as well. The next question is, can you talk more about your unlimited recruiting concept? Because most recruiting agencies charge per driver. That's an interesting one because, as contractors, we're always short-staffed or we're overstaffed, right? And if I'm being charged, let's say, $500 or $50 or whatever the case is per driver, once I have enough staff, I'm going to start thinking, oh, I should pause my recruiting effort because it's costing me money. And then as soon as I pause, a week later, 3 of my drivers quit, and now I'm in a desperate position. So because of that principle, we don't have a limitation. Like we literally have clients that literally hire FADV approved people to the tune of 25 drivers per month. Now, it doesn't mean they actually hire all of them. It just means we've gone through with them and we've fully approved them on FADV. And when the owner or the contractor needs those drivers, they call them and they hire them. If they don't need them, those individuals just become stale applicants, right? Nobody calls them and nothing really happens with them, and life moves on. So it's really truly unlimited amount of recruiting now. Obviously, it does depend on your geography, right? Like there are certain locations where, like let's say Seattle, which is where my stations are located at, it is expensive to advertise on Indeed. So, those scenarios, you might be like, hey, let's go from spending $100 a day to like $20 a day while I'm not aggressively recruiting. But from our side, we do unlimited recruiting, right? There's just zero limitation on that. One of the next questions is, can you just do my FADV management? The answer is yes. And that's an interesting question. So there are clients, contractors across the country that say, look, I don't do a lot of recruiting. My people don't leave much, but I hate First Advantage. And we're happy to take over that initiative. It's a very simple thing from our side. Anytime you want to hire somebody, you'll give them a website called onboarddriver.com. They'll fill out that form and everything else automatically happens. There's zero additional effort on your side. Now, that does bring up an interesting dilemma for us as an organization, because we do have a limit of 2 to 3 contractors per station. So once we have 3 contractors in a station, and sometimes 2, depending on the geography, we just cannot do any further recruiting. And that's the job advertising portion, right? Where we manage your job advertising and so forth, because there's only so many applicants in a surrounding area. And that's sad. We have some revolutionary thinking behind the scene as far as how we can bypass that ceiling. But for now, we're not ready to push through that. So once we have 2 or 3 clients per station, we just can't manage your job advertising no more, unfortunately. So in those scenarios, we still provide you everything we have, with the exception of the job advertising. So we'll still do your entire First Advantage management, but you are the one that actually has to manage your own job advertising. You're the one that will have to contact the applicants, pre-qualify them, and then tell them to fill out our form. So that portion just goes away, unfortunately. So, and there are probably over a dozen stations across the country where we're already to full capacity, not because we can't handle it, right? It's just because, surrounding a station, there's only so many applicants that we can do. Somebody's asking about bookkeeping. We're happy to do bookkeeping. Our bookkeeping service costs $49 a week. And currently it's more of a wait list. We have clients in our bookkeeping division, but due to how low of a price it is, we have to essentially throttle the number of clients that come in for that. Discuss Gusto a little bit more in detail. So Gusto is literally the engine that actually does the direct deposit, bank information, jurisdiction, federal taxes, quarterly taxes, worker compensation, depending on the state that you live in. So they do all the work. They are the ones that every week will withdraw the money from your bank, and they are the one that will deposit the money into your employees' bank accounts. So that's basically the extent of Gusto. Gusto does have a cost associated with them. So if you're with ADP, you're paying probably, I don't know, 10, 12, 13, 14, $15 a month. If you're with QuickBooks, $8, $9, $10 per month. Depending on which vendor you're with, they all have their own charges. One of the coolest things about Gusto, though, is there is no child support cost. Like, there's no additional cost beyond what their base cost is. So their base cost is $80 per month plus $12 per employee. So we will take the responsibility of completely managing your Gusto, but you will be paying for the services of Gusto, which again is $80 per month, $12 per employee. So it is very similar to how all the other payroll processors work, where they charge $8 to $15 per month, and that's the same thing. Gas card pricing. So there's really not much that we can share from a pricing perspective. We plan on introducing it on a wholesale pricing perspective, and we actually plan on being completely transparent. We will literally present on our website the cost, the wholesale cost that is being pushed down to us from the gas networks, and there's just going to be a small percentage for us to be able to support that model. Gas cards are not a profit or even much of a revenue generation for us as a company. The only reason we are doing gas cards is because nobody so far has stepped up to the plate to give us the peace of mind that we need. And that's really how gas cards work. So that's pretty much it as far as the questions that you guys have had for me. Again, happy to chat with you guys individually on a one-on-one Zoom call. Just go to RouteElite.com/Farjad, and we'll take it from there. If you are ready to get started, you're like, yes, let's do it. What's the next step? You can go to RouteElite.com, and then at the top there's a Get Started button, or just directly go to RouteElite.com/Get Started. As mentioned before, if you cannot, if this just is a heavy burden at this point, make sure please to sign up for the price drop, because depending on the number of people that we have that are waiting in the price drop database, as well as the number of clients that we have on the other side, that does determine how fast we are able to calculate our financials and be like, okay, now it's time for us to be able to drop, because there are enough individuals that are waiting in the pipeline to sign up once we drop the price. Okay, thank you everybody. I appreciate you guys being with me today. I look forward to working with you guys one-on-one, and you all have a good day.